The Oregon Ducks beating Ohio State at the crib. Final score, Oregon 32, Ohio State 31. Got the whole seat here. Only needed the edge. This was massive for Oregon. This is massive heartbreak if you're Ohio State. I think we got exactly what a lot of us maybe felt we would get. Maybe not so much in the actual result because Ohio State was favored by 3.5. But when it came to how this game felt going into it and how we feel going out of it, a lot to take away. So make sure you subscribe right here to the On3 YouTube channel. If you're an Oregon fan or you're an Ohio State fan, got a feeling now we're going to see these two teams collide again in the not-too-distant future. So lock in right here. Make sure you're subscribed. Let me know on the social channels at JD Piquel, Twitter and Instagram, what you thought of yesterday's action. So as I said, man, going into this thing, felt a lot like we were going to see the two best teams in the Big Ten. I think we saw that. Felt a lot like we'd see two of the best rosters in college football. I think we saw that. Y'all, be honest, I think we saw two, not just like college football playoff teams, but two national title contenders. And we saw that in Autzen. We saw both teams go deep into their bag that we maybe hadn't seen to this point in the year. Chip Kelly pulling out a couple of things. I want to start with Oregon, though, because to me, Will Stein looked like he had the schematic edge. All week long, I was saying, hey, I think this Ohio State defense has got some speed to it. They're going to run sideline to sideline. This will be the best outfit that Oregon has played against. I wasn't saying much, but I think maybe it's time to put a little more respect on the Oregon passing game and what they're doing. Dillon, Gabriel, man, what were people saying about Oregon going into this thing? Hey, love to do the check down, like to get the ball out in space, and everyone knocked Bo Nix for that last year. Hey, he's a check down artist. Not great depth of target. People would say that. Y'all, yesterday, Dillon Gabriel was spinning it. All right, averaging 10 yards a pass, y'all. Over 340 yards through the air. There was no check down artist to be found yesterday. Dillon Gabriel was real deal testing that Ohio State defense. Will Stein had it dialed up. To me, at least, I don't have all the X's and O's dialed up just yet. We're less than 24 hours removed from this thing. To me, it felt like they had the jump on Ohio State schematically. And to be real here, that's the NFL defense. That's one very veteran. I mean, it's all juniors, seniors, and then a sophomore who's the best in college football and Caleb Downs. So let's get that straight. It's a team with a ton of NFL talent, especially on the defensive side, especially in the secondary. And Oregon was running all over them. I mean, in a literal sense, we'll get to that in a second on the ground, but like through the air, man, Oregon needs to get a lot of praise for how they threw the football and carved up that secondary yesterday. That to me was arguably as impressive as anything else in that football game. Now, also, we saw the physical edge that I think, had expected of Oregon going into the season. It showed itself yesterday, man. 5 yards of carry on the ground. Jordan James, what's up with you? And then no sacks allowed. Talk about the progress of a team like Oregon from the first two games to now. Through the first two games, they've allowed 7 sacks. None since then. And the competition level just keeps ramping up. And I don't know if this is a we've arrived kind of moment yet for Oregon, but I do think this is a how do you like me now kind of moment for Dan Lanning. Because there's always been so much talk around Dan Lanning and how he recruits and his culture and potential. Like people use that word a lot with Oregon and Dan Lanning, potential, right? Well, what does potential mean? It means you haven't really done anything yet. It means you could do something great, but you haven't actually arrived at that point just yet. Y'all, that win over Ohio State last night, when Dan Lanning is just showing every intense / positive emotion in the book, he's fired up, like, that's tangible. Like, you can wrap your arms around a win over Ohio State at the crib. You can take a snapshot of a win over a top 3 team in America and take that out on the recruiting trail and say, hey, come to Oregon, here's why. Here's what we're doing here. And this is another great example, too, why we cannot label and define teams in September. We can't do it. Now, I would have taken much more of a victory lap last night had I not picked Ohio State in the football game, but I tweeted it out after the Boise State game. I said, hey, listen, if anyone is foolish enough to sell you Oregon Ducks stock at this point in the year, 2 games in, purchase it, thank them for it, and then very, very cautiously stow that away because it's only going to go up. Everyone thought Oregon had them figured out through the first 2 games of the year. Oh, they're overrated. Oh, they're not that good. Dillon Gabriel, they missed on the quarterback, this, that, and the other. Well, that team that everyone was talking down on because of how they played against two lesser teams from Idaho. Boise State now, good football team, just so we're on the same page. Just beat Ohio State. All right, so that's Oregon. I mean, there's no more potential, no more, they could, no more it's tangible, this is something tangible, rather. There's no more potential when you talk about Oregon. Now, for Ohio State, man, a couple of thoughts here. This hurts bad for a number of reasons. Probably most obvious one is I think Ohio State played well enough to win the football game in a lot of areas. Defensively, you battled, allowed too many explosives. It is what it is. Offensively, I honestly came away from this game as I was replaying it in my head last night. There were so many questions around Will Howard and would he be good enough? Is he the guy to take Ohio State to the next level and all these things? And I'm like, I know the last play is going to be clowned, and we'll talk about that ourselves here in a second. Will Howard, to me, validated he can be that guy to take Ohio State to win the whole darn thing. Point to one thing yesterday outside of that last play, which, again, we'll talk about, that would be a reason as to why you believe Will Howard cannot take Ohio State to win a national championship. Threw for over 300 yards, had 7 incompletions, accounted for 3 touchdowns, one of which he had to scramble away and find Jeremiah Smith in the end zone. God bless Kyle McCord. That play's not happening a season ago. I thought Will Howard, in a lot of ways, was the elevator, was the catalyst to what Ohio State did yesterday. I get the last play is going to be clowned. I understand that social media is the social media world. It's not reality. It's social media. People do it for likes and clicks and all that. I thought Will Howard showed a lot yesterday and validated a lot of what he can be at Ohio State. Going back to the play now. Let's unpack this. End of the game, trying to get in field goal range. Will Howard sees a lane, runs for it, tries to slide to get down, doesn't do it in time, clock runs out, Oregon wins. If you're an Ohio State fan, sick to your stomach, okay. Hurts, right? Got it. Everyone today is like, man, Will Howard, what an idiot. I'm like, it's an effort play that didn't go your way, that honestly you probably should have had a better gauge for the clock, but it is what it is. Ball up top. You know what I'm saying? Are you really clowning Will Howard for trying to get his team in field goal range and just not sliding early enough? It wasn't like he just kept running and then, was just unaware of the time. Tried to slide, didn't do it in time. It is what it is. It's an effort play that didn't go your way, an effort play gone wrong. I don't think Will Howard deserves to be dunked on because of that one play. I'll say this. I think he's a big reason why you're in that game. I think he's a big reason why you have a chance to even be in field goal range, why you score 31 points. There's a lot of other things to point to besides that one play from Will Howard. I got Twitter quarterbacks in my mentions saying, is this the Will Howard difference? Yeah, it is the Will Howard difference. Will Howard being able to scramble and even get you in that position, to get you in a situation where he's thrown for over 300 yards and got 3 total touchdowns and scrambles for a throwing touchdown, I should say, scrambles with his legs to become available to throw a touchdown. See what I'm saying here? I don't think Will Howard's the situation where that's why you lost the game. It's the play that everyone's going to point to. It's the play that we'll talk about, but I don't think that's the end-all, be-all when you talk about why Ohio State lost yesterday. Now, I will say this, fully expect us to see this game again. Whether it be in the Big Ten title game, whether it be in the college football playoff, I'll say this, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this as the national championship game. Those, to me, are the 2 best teams in college football outside of Texas. So if they find their way to meet in the dance, God bless them. Now, this game, honestly, could propel both sides of this going forward. For Oregon, we talk about that tangible, something you can wrap your arms around and kind of a watermark, if you will, for the Dan Lanning era in Eugene. For great teams, they taste success. They say, oh, that was just a nibble. We want a full meal of that. We want more of that. That's what great teams do. They chase that. For Ohio State, you take a loss, you let it propel you. You let it fuel you. Let it get you out of bed for those extra reps in the morning. You make it, push you for those last couple of periods in practice, whatever it ends up looking like. I think it can serve both teams well. I cannot wait to see how they finish the year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But again, I think we saw 2 of the best in college football last night, and I'd be wildly surprised if we did not see it again. So the Ducks take down the Bucks in Autzen. Dramatic fashion, one for the books. and arguably the game of the year thus far in college football. Make sure you subscribe, follow me on the socials. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.